welcome to episode number 10 of the Karen Knits podcast. I can't believe I'm at 10 episodes already. This is amazing. So anyways, my name is Karen and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all sorts of other crafty things whenever I can. Today is Saturday, November 17th, 2018. We're here on partly cloudy, mostly overcast day here this morning. We've actually had a bit of wintry weather here recently. We had a snowstorm came through here on Thursday, just a couple days ago, and according to different forecasts and different weather reports I've heard, we've had anywhere between 7 to 9 inches of snow came down on Thursday. So a lot of that's melted already. We have had temperatures on Friday and this morning and today going up into the low 40s. So a lot of the snow has already melted. And there's a little bit still along the curbs and in the shady areas, but a lot of it has melted away already, thankfully. So anyway, this is a knitting podcast, not a weather podcast. So as I said, today is Saturday, November 17th, 2018, and I'd like to say a huge welcome to any new viewers. Thank you for taking the time to stop in and see what I'm all about. A big thank you to all my returning viewers. I really appreciate that you come back to see me and listen to me and spend some time with me every week. What else did I want to... Checking my show notes. So anyways, this podcast is mostly about knitting, although the weather podcast might have thrown you off a little bit there. It's primarily a knitting podcast. I do talk a little bit about some other topics in a few other playlists on my channel, but this particular part of the podcast, the Karen Knits podcast, is primarily knitting. Occasionally I'll probably have some crochet projects thrown in there as well. But anyway, that's a long-winded, rambly, as per usual from me, a long-winded, rambly introduction. So sit back, grab yourself a beverage, hot coffee, tea, hot chocolate, whatever makes you happy. Grab yourself a beverage. Grab your knitting or your crochet or whatever other crafty project you're working on. Sit back and spend a bit of time with me, maybe half hour or 45 minutes. I can never predict how long I'm going to ramble on for, but I usually try to aim for roughly the half hour to 45 minutes, but we'll see how long I natter on today. So anyways, grab your knitting, grab your crafting, grab your beverage, get a comfy chair, sit back, and let's spend a little bit of time talking about what I've been up to this past week together. So first off, what am I drinking? I'm suggesting you grab yourself a drink. I just have plain ordinary black tea in my cup this morning. It's still fairly early in the morning. It's only about not quite 9 o'clock yet, and I'm still on my regular black tea. I haven't switched over to any herbal teas or any other different teas. It's just plain black tea. I think it's just a plain black tea from Walmart. Nothing fancy at all. Just plain ordinary caffeinated tea. So that's what I'm up to for my beverages. I don't have any finished objects to report this week, yet again. Oh well. I gotta quit with the ums, don't I? So, my works in progress. This past week, or the past couple days, if you've noticed or seen any of my Whip It Down week vlogs, you'll see that right now I'm on a break from work. The university is closed down during the US Thanksgiving week, and Thursday was a snow day, so the university was closed. Friday I didn't have any commitments on campus, so I just stayed home where I didn't have to be out on the roads that were still a little bit icy and slippery. So every year for the last several years now, what I like to do during my Thanksgiving break is I have a Whip It week, where what I do is I haul out all of my works in progress and I line them up, and what I do is I set aside for each day during the break, I set aside some time where all I do is spend time knitting on one specific project, all my spare time that day. The next day I will choose a different project, and I will, the same thing, I will work on that second project during all my spare time for the day. And then that way what I end up doing is I might not necessarily finish anything during my Thanksgiving break or during my Whip It Down week. What I do tend to do is I end up managing to get some work done on each and every work in progress that I have sitting around the house. So I started on Thursday, was my first day, and what I've done is I've created a different playlist that's just called Whip It Down Week, I think Thanksgiving 2018 edition. And I'm putting each of those videos in there. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more detail on what I've worked on, what I'm planning on doing, hop on over to that playlist and check it out. The majority of the content in those is going to be knitting related. If you don't watch any of those and only watch the podcast itself, you're not going to miss anything, because I will do an overview of what I've worked on each of the days throughout the week. You'll just get it as a weekly update as opposed to a little bit of a vlog style video each and every day. So anyway, that was a I am long-winded today. We might not make it to half an hour. We might go over half an hour today. But anyway, once I lined up all of my works in progress, once I got them all lined up, mapped out what I wanted to do, I noticed that I had 5 works in progress, and I have 11 mostly full days during my Thanksgiving break. So what I thought would work fantastic is I will spend 2 days on each of those 5 projects, and then on one of those days I want to do some sewing. I haven't got to that yet. I'll show you that once I get to that during the podcast next week. But anyway, so for Thursday, I marked down that I wanted to work on my Rowe cardigan. My goal was for the day to finish the sleeves and to move on to working on the 2 front pieces. So this is the Rowe cardigan by Michelle Wong. I cast this on in February, I believe. Worked on it for a fair bit during the later part of the winter last winter. Then put it aside, and it didn't see any progress much at all during the summer. I picked it up in the fall. I finished the back and got a good start done on the sleeves. And so what I've done this on Thursday is I got the sleeves finished. So here they are. I was knitting these. That's a good spot for it. I was knitting these 2 at a time on one needle, so that all of my increases were in the same place, all of my decreases in the same place. I just wanted to make sure I was consistent and that I was working that through nicely and evenly. And then that way, once I was finished the sleeves were done. I didn't have to go back and start over on doing a second sleeve. So anyway, the sleeve, I started on Thursday morning. If you can see where the green marker is, everything from there up to the top on both sleeves. I was at this point on each of the sleeves. So I finished off the sleeves, so I'm really happy with that. I didn't tell you what I'm what I'm using with this. I'm using Knit Picks Bare Worsted Wool of the Andes Superwash. It's the bare yarn. I'm going to keep it in this color. I quite like I really do like the cream color. And I'm using 4.5 millimeter or US size 7 needles for this. They're my Knitter's Pride interchangeable needles. And I had hoped on Thursday I was able to finish the sleeves and get started on the two front pieces. I didn't get to that point. I didn't get started on the front pieces. So when I get to working on my Rowe cardigan for my second day, I don't recall which day I have that lined up for. But anyway, I will get to start up and get the ribbing going on the two front pieces. And I'll do the same thing with those. I will start both of them. I will do both the right and the right and the left pieces of the front. I will do them at the same time. And then that way, once I'm finished knitting the front, they're both done. And then I can sew it together and get the, what do you call this thing? The front, the ribbing section that goes around the collar and down the front of both sides of it. Anyway, so here's my two sleeves for my Rowe cardigan. I did notice when I was taking pictures of it the other day, it's not on this one. I did notice that I have a small mistake twice on one of the sleeves. Here we go. So I don't know if you can see this. So in two places, what I managed to do, here's one, where'd you go? Yeah, here's one place here, and the second one is here. And you can see what I've done in each of those. This is, the panel along the sides is, I think it's a double moss stitch pattern, and I goofed up here and here, and I did too many rows before switching back to switching the knit purl parts the other way. If you're familiar with doing the double moss pattern, you understand exactly what I'm saying. I just can't seem to get it spit out into a normal sentence. But anyway, I goofed up in a couple places. It's sort of noticeable. I sort of don't care. By the time I realized that it had happened, I was like, there's no way I was going to undo that much on two different sleeves to go back and fix it. I'm not, in a lot of cases, I'm not that much of a perfectionist when it comes to my knitting. It's for myself. It's not something I'm giving away for a gift. I might think differently if I was giving this away to somebody else, but it's mine. It's for me. I can live with it. It's going to be partly under my arm anyway. I can live with it. It's a little bit of character to the sweater. Like I need more things with character, being a character myself. Anyway, so the other thing I worked on this past week, so that was my Rowe cardigan. I'm excited to get started on the front pieces. I'm excited to get the thing finished so that I can start wearing it once it gets a little bit colder here. I'm excited to get that as a finished object. The next project that I spent a fair bit of time working on this past week are my Christmas socks, my vanilla Christmas socks. These are I'm not following a specific pattern for this. It is just a simple vanilla sock recipe. I'm doing them top down with a 2x2 ribbing on the top, on the cuff, and then I'm just doing plain stockingette for, I think I did the leg to, I think it was about 7 inches total. Then I do a heel flap, heel turn, and a gusset. I will do a gusset, and then move down the foot and do a basic wedge toe. It's the style of sock that I enjoy knitting a lot. It's the different components of a sock that fit my foot nicely. The length is a good length for my leg and what I like to wear. So anyways, these are part of the festive sock along that is being hosted by Amy Florence over at the Stranded podcast. Her goal was, or is, to knit 24 pair of socks that she can wear she can wear a different pair of socks each day leading up until Christmas. So she has a cal going on in her Ravelry group, and also she talks about in her podcast as well. But I thought I'd join along. So this is my first pair of socks. That I'm clearly not going to get to 24 pair of socks. I will, however, get to raiding my sock drawer and pulling out any of the socks that I think are Christmassy or leading up to the festive season. She calls it a festive sock along to accommodate any kind of belief system and whatever you want to call it, was just the festive season leading up until Christmas. But anyway, I'm using yarn that I dyed myself for these. It's done up in like a find my words. Where's your words, Karen? English is my only language. This is the fun part. So anyway, it's done in the pattern is done in the style where, or the pattern, the dyeing is done where you have like the whole hank of yarn, and then you put just little pieces of color in one small portion of the entire hank of yarn. And it's a style, the person who first, that I'm aware of, that first started dyeing this particular style, she called them unicorn farts. And if I remember, I'll put a little tag down at the bottom of the screen somewhere to let you know where you can find, or what the name is and where you can find. I'll put in the thingy down below. That's the technical name for it. So anyway, long way of saying this. In the past week, I have let's see if I can get these needles a little bit cooperative. Not looking promising. Anyway, so where I've got this past week, I have the cuffs are done. I now have the legs completely finished, and I have both heel flaps finished, and both heel turns are complete as well. I'm ready to pick up the gussets. Almost dropped the ball of yarn. I'm almost ready to start to pick up the gusset stitches and start the gusset decreasing. Where I was last week was where the blue marker is. So I did the last little blip on the leg, and I got the heel flaps and the heel turns done this past week as well. It hasn't been a hugely productive week knitting wise, especially before Thursday. I had a lot of things that I had to catch up on at work before the break started, and I wanted to make sure that I kind of worked ahead on a few things so that I could take the time off and just gonna relax and enjoy and craft to my heart's content during the break. So my third work in progress, the third project that saw some love this past week is my Sock Scrap-ghan. And this is one I'm using, I didn't write down the name of it. I will put it's a basic mitered square blanket, and I'm doing it with scraps, all the leftover yarns that I have from various socks that I've made, with all of the fingering weight leftover yarns. So it's all my sock scraps, so I'm calling it my Sock Scrap-ghan. But it's following, can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry to whoever it is. I will put that name down on the screen here so you can see. So what I wanted to get done, this is something I haven't worked on this in quite a while. It's something that I think I started it in 2014. It's been on the needles for a long time. I seem to pull it out every once in a while. I add a handful of squares and then I put it aside and I don't touch it for months again. At this rate, I might finish it by the time I'm ready to be put into a nursing home. But I really do need to buckle down and at least try to put on a couple squares a week, every week, so I can finally get this finished. I'm trying to... Sirens coming. There we go. Ambulance just went flying past down the road. So anyways, I can't remember what I was saying about it. Anyway, how about I start this little bit again where I pulled this out to spend some time working on it. I have 104 squares. When I picked it up yesterday morning, I had 104 squares done. I had plans to do several things related to working on this. One of the things I wanted to do was catch up on tucking in the tails. I had quite a few on there. One thing you'll notice is that there is still a tail on every square, but I don't do anything with the tail when it's on the point like this. What I do is I wait until I've added the next square on, and then what I have is this little part that was on the point will now be in a corner, and what I do is I just tuck in the thread along each of these seams so that they get nicely tucked in. So when they're at this point, I don't have the seam to tuck it into. So I leave that part alone. So yesterday, one of the things I did was I caught up on most of the tails. As you can see, the back of this, I don't have tails all over the place. I do try to make sure that I am tucking the tails in on a regular basis so that it's not a huge daunting project. It's going to be kind of hard to show you what this looks like. I'll try to show you some of it, but it's a project I like working on it. It's a nice, mindless, easy one to work on. So yesterday I managed to get caught up on the tails, and I added these these two squares. This brown one, which were a pair of socks I made for my husband, and a nice red, I think this is Cascade Heritage, is this one. I don't remember what that is. I'm not one of these people that you see some people showing off their memory blankets and they're rattling off. This is this one. Yeah, no. A couple of them I know what they are. Probably 75% of them, no idea. I don't remember what they are. So anyways, so I got two squares done. I got the tails tucked in. But one of the things I really did want, sorry, trying to find some place to put that down. One of the things I did want to get done with this is I wanted to sort through, I had a big tub of all these little yarn balls. And what I really wanted to do was go through all of those and separate out which ones I had added to the blanket already and which ones had not been added to the blanket. I know on the blanket right now I have some duplicate squares. I'm fine with that. I don't care if I have one specific yarn in there more than once. I'm fine with that. I'm not picky enough to want to have have each and every square be a completely different yarn. I'm not that picky about it. So what I did was I went through the whole tub of yarn. I have that on the videotape or the vlog for day 3 for my my Whip It Down Week vlogging series. I taped doing the separating out the yarn, so if you want to see that, it's sped up and in there. But what I did was I came up with all of the yarns that I have not yet added to the blanket. So as you can see, I have quite a lot. So what I plan on doing is working my way through this little basket, bowl, whatever you call this plastic tub thing. It's like a cake pan, plastic cake storage thing. Anyway, so anyway, I'm going to work my way through adding all of these squares into there. So once I've added this one on here, then the ball will go, what's left of the ball will go into the other tub. And as I get new little balls of yarn that are not in the Afghan yet, I'll stick them into the tub that I haven't used yet. So that way I can kind of try to keep it a little bit more organized and know what I'm adding into the Afghan as I get to it. So I really do, I am also trying to decide if I want to make it into a larger Afghan or if I just want to do it up into like a small lap blanket or even a shawl. Like just do it into like a smaller square, fold it in half into a large triangle and wear it as a small wrap. I'm still debating this. I'll have to decide. I'll keep adding squares onto it for the time being, and sooner or later I'll have to decide exactly what it is I'm doing with it. I honestly don't think I have the patience to turn it into a full-size bedspread or a full-size Afghan for a queen-size bed. I don't think I'll ever stick with it that long that I can do that. There's one other thing I want to do with the rest of these yarns, because as I said, I do have a decent-sized tub with all of the other balls of yarn that I've already put into my Scrap-ghan. What I think I want to do with those is I think I want to start doing one of those crochet granny striped blankets. I think that's what they're called and referred to. So what I want to do is probably, like, I don't have enough work in progresses now, and I have others that I really want to cast on soon. What I think I'll do with the scraps of yarn once I'm done with them, or once they've made an appearance in the Sock Scrap-ghan, I think what I'll do is I'll start making some magic balls and start up a granny stripe blanket with those, with the rest of them. And then that way I know I'll get that used up. I can crochet a lot faster than I can knit. And I think it would be something that it would be an excellent way that I could finish using up all of those little balls of yarn that are still left. So that's my plans for all of my sock yarn scraps. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit this week is not a couple things. One, look at some of my acquisitions this week. So in the mail a couple days ago, I got the winter 2018 edition of PomPom magazine. I splurged and got a subscription to the magazine, so this one came in the mail Tuesday or Wednesday, can't remember. It was earlier this week, and there are a few patterns in here I love. There's a few in here that are absolutely going in my work in mind list. This one, I love, absolutely love that shawl. I think that's probably one that will definitely be something getting onto my needles quite soon this winter. I also really like this cardigan. It's beautiful cables on it. You may have noticed that I like my cables. This is another really pretty little pretty cardigan. And a third one that I really like in here is this cardigan, or I guess you can call it a cardigan. And again, it has some nice details down the back. So I think that's fantastic for this issue. There's 3 patterns that I really like, and I really am excited about getting started and casting on. So that was the only thing I bought that I don't say bought this week. The only new thing that came into my house for crafting. The other thing, there's 2 projects or 2 things that I want to get cast on in the near future. The first one, I haven't selected my yarn for it yet, and I won't be casting it on until maybe next week. I probably won't be able to restrain myself. But I was watching the Skein Knits podcast yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And she was talking about her mystery mitten pattern that's coming out. So I bought the pattern, and I think the first clue comes out Wednesday on the 21st, I think, thereabouts. And I think the clues come out in over 5 days up until the early part of December. So I'm really thinking I love the strand of the colorwork mittens. So I bought, like I say, I bought the pattern. I have different yarns that are probably suitable for it. I have to go rooting through my stash like a little raccoon rooting through a garbage can. But I have to go rooting through my stash to find yarn that I want to use for that. That'll probably be the deciding factor if I find the yarn that will work well for these mittens. I'll definitely be casting on probably when the clue comes out next week. And the other pattern that I want to cast on, or I will be that I will be casting on sometime in the upcoming week, is for an Advent scarf. This scarf is put out by, the designer is Trisha Weatherston, and she's she's the person behind Sock Madness. If any of you are familiar with the Sock Madness craze that goes through Ravelry in March through May each spring. Every winter she also puts out a Advent scarf or a cowl, some kind of something to wrap around our necks. And so it comes out during the Advent season. So we will get a small part of a clue for a small part of the scarf each day during the Advent season. And it's designed so that where we're sitting in and we're in a really busy time of the year, it's set up and designed so that it's not a huge amount of knitting each day in the clue. It's usually between 15 and 20 rows of knitting, so it's not a huge commitment. But each day, the plan is, and what the goal is for this Advent scarf, is that we get the clue comes out late at night each day, and then so when everyone gets up in the morning, the clue is ready for them, and then they can sit back for half an hour or so each morning, cup of tea, cup of hot cocoa, whatever you want, and just spend a little bit of me time where you can just put all the other getting ready for Christmas crazy aside and just spend a little bit of time working on a scarf or a little bit of knitting. And I think this is my 4th or 5th year doing this. I love it. I don't think I've actually finished one of these scarves before Christmas, but I usually tend to get behind as the month progresses. But anyway, what she did this year was she sent out a piece of information or a piece of the pattern for the first part of the ribbing on the scarf. And that she sent out a little while back. I haven't cast that on yet. But she sent that out, and then the first real part of the clue comes out on, I think, the 24th of November. And then each day leading up until the last clue comes out, the overnight coming into Christmas Eve. And then so for Christmas Day, you have a brand new scarf that you can wear, assuming that you kept up and finished it up. So anyways, this one is done in a DK. It's designed to be done in a DK weight yarn, and I didn't have any yarn that in my stash that I could use, so I decided to dye my own. So I had some Knit Picks Stroll Sport Knit Picks Stroll Sport Weight Bare Yarn. I think I have all the bits together there. And so I had some of those at home, and what I did was I thought, I'll just dye it myself. And this is what I created. They're not all exactly the same. There we go, I think I caught them all. They're not all exactly the same. They are a light tonal kind of purple. I will find out as I'm working with this and as I'm knitting it if it's too tonal and if it overpowers the design in the scarf. If that's the case, I will over dye it and make it a little bit darker purple and maybe have it come out a little bit less tonal and a little bit less variation in it. But these are the 3 skeins that I will be using for the Advent scarf. So I do plan on getting this cast on and doing the first little piece of the clue that we got, or not, I guess it's not a clue, but the preliminary bit of the pattern where we can get started on the first part of the cuff. I do plan on getting these beauties caked up in the next couple days or so, and I do want to have that cuff or the ribbing done before the first clue drops on the 20, I think it's on the 24th. It's this weekend, a week from now, the first clue will come up. So hopefully next week when I film my podcast, I'll have the little bit of the ribbing to show you, and then the following week I'll be able to show you the first 7 days worth on the scarf. So these guys are going to get caked up probably maybe later today, in the next couple days. I'm really excited about getting going on knitting on that Advent scarf. It's something like I say, I've followed along with the Advent scarf every year for the last 4, maybe 5 years, and I love it. They always turn out, they're pretty patterns. This one, the only clue and information we've been given is that the different patterns come out of Japanese stitch dictionaries, and it's usually not the exact same pattern all the way through. There's some variation and changing throughout the scarf each year, and I'm just excited to see what Tricia has in mind for us and what she's created for us this year. I've loved every single one of them I've made. I actually and she's been doing this for, I think, close to 10 years now. So I think one of these days I think I might go back and buy the patterns from the previous years and make some of those, because they're gorgeous. But before I've got this far, I will have put a little note down in the bottom of the screen to remind you of the name of it, and down in the down bar below, in the information bar below, I will have some information about where to find more information. I will have some information down below about where you can get a hold of the pattern and join in with us, because it's a really nice way to lead up to the Christmas season. So I'm getting excited about that. I'm looking forward to the lead up towards Christmas. And I think that's about all I have to ramble on about today. I probably am going to be up closer to the 45-minute mark now, looking at the time on here, unless I cut out some of it. Anyway, so I hope you've had a fantastic week. I hope you have a fantastic week coming up. I hope you've enjoyed spending this last half hour, 45 minutes with me. If you've enjoyed this, I hope you take a couple seconds to like and subscribe. Those buttons are going to be down one of these corners. I think they might be down in this corner, but I might be completely wrong. But I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my channel. It's still a really small channel. I'm hoping to build it up a little bit more. And hit the little notification bell, and it will let you know when I have new content on my channel. I do tend to post different things other than only my knitting podcast, but I have those separated out into different playlists. So if you don't particularly want to see what I'm doing with my other crafty endeavors, that's fine. If you just want to see the knitting podcast, that's great. So I think that's about it. I don't think I have much else. So I'm hoping that next week I'll have a lot of progress to show you on all 5 of my works in progresses. I'm never sure. I think it's works in progress. Yeah, more than one word. Anyway. Might be time to call it quits before I choke here. Okay, on that note, I think I'll shut up before I before I do myself in here. Anyway, I'm all red. Anyway, so thank you for joining me. Things aren't always this crazy around here. They do tend to be a little bit rambly. That's fair warning. But anyway, so next week I'm hoping to have, because I'm doing my Whip It Down week, I'm hoping to have a lot of progress to show you on all 5 of my works in progress for next week. I've had a chance to spend a full day on all 5 of them. So I might have a little bit more time that I'm spending talking about my works in progress next week. And anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And I'll see you guys again next week. Bye now.